Hi, this is Olivier from Qualifio, and I'm going to show you around the GDPR Toolbox. So you will find the GDPR Toolbox into the settings of your account. You of course need to be an admin or a marketeer as user rights to access it. The first point for it will be to be named as DPO. How can you be named as DPO? You first need to ask either your Qualifio contact, either your own DPO if it's already a Qualifio DPO. Basically, not everyone can name himself or herself as DPO to make sure that not everyone is DPO and has access to all the data rights. So basically, first of all, you need to get appointed DPO, and then you'll set some settings. Do I want to validate each data export from the GDPR Toolbox export module or not? Do I want to collect IP addresses from in anonymous campaigns or not? So that's based on your own policy. And then you will see that we have built several different modules based on different articles of the GDPR. First, let's see this one, data subject erasure. In this module, you will be able to, erase users that have logged in and have participated to Qualifio campaign of your account. So first possibility is to erase all the user from one certain time range. That is particularly helpful in the beginning of the use of the GDPR toolbox. Then you can also do a manual check, manual user erasure. So let's see, based on a single email, for instance, let's use mine. And we see we indeed have a user that is recorded with this email. We could have several users with this email. This user has requested to be erased from your database. Well, you will need to erase it from your Qualifio account as well. So you can ask for it. You don't need to be a DPO to do that. You will need to be a DPO to validate it. But here you can say, okay, this is the right to be forgotten, Article 17. And yes, I'm going to submit the request to the DPO. On a more automatic manner, you can set your data retention policy. So here, I decided that for my account, I won't hold any data, personal data, for longer than 36 months. So this is really based on your personal data retention policy. And you can save it, modify it as you wish. This is, of course, only available for DPO users. The second item is the data subject export for the right to data portability, for instance. So once again, I want to be able to search a user and export all the data for data access, so Article 20, basically. And I'm going to ask the DPO to validate this export so I can find it back a bit later on. So then you have the default data protection text, also called privacy text, so really related to Article 13 of the GDPR. And it's here to display some protection text in your campaign. This text will be always present in all your Qualifio campaigns, and your Qualifio users won't be able to remove it or modify it. You can define a text underneath the form or in the menu in the top right corner, the little button. You can define it per website or for the whole account. And if we check it here, of course, one per language, you will be able to define some text in here. Then we have the GDPR request. So this is to validate or deny the request that I've done just before. This user, he wants to do a manual delete of whom? Well, if I check, it's the profile, exactly the one I showed. I'm going to either refuse it or accept it. Here, I'm going to refuse. You can justify it. Of course, every time you get a new request, the DPO will get an email. And every time you accept or deny it, the user that has requested the deletion or the export will get an email. You cannot delete this user. And I just refused. And you can maybe here accept this export. Then you have the logs of the GDPR. This is all the action related to data visualization or export in your Qualifio account for all the users. Here we just have one user in this very specific demo account, but we see that this user, he has consulted the data of this campaign, he has consulted data of a CRM profile, he has exported data. We can really see all the operations related to data, and you can export it very easily. So this is really to make sure that no data is leaking, and you can have a view after a certain date. You have here the access to an overview of all questions. You can search them, of course, or directly modify them. Why would that be useful? Basically, one of your users is requesting personal or sensitive, information. Well, this is not something that you would like them to do, and you can directly react. Okay, in this question A, here are the answers. I'm going to archive this question, in all campaigns, or just in this campaign. Save or close. So just to make sure that all these kind of a question that could be harmful for a brand are not asked in your Qualifio campaign. You also have another view of all identification fields. So this is more related to personal information, so PII, everything that's asked in your forms, well, per language, of course. You can check it out and modify here. Okay, I don't want to ask the race of the participants because, well, this is not really something I would like to do. Well, you can directly modify the field, or you can also export it. Back to the DPO account management. Well, we've seen it already, and you have protection measures that have been taken by Qualifio. So the standard Qualifio data protection contract, which you should have signed, may be modified a bit based on your legal department, and all the data protection measures that are done by Qualifio, and we will of course update this very often. What it looks like in an anonymous campaign, if I did not decide to collect the IP addresses, well, I just don't have it. If I was in another Qualifio campaign, well, where I would have collected it, there would just be a line here with a collection of the IP addresses. Here, in an identified campaign, if I decided to erase the personal information, well, I just erase it, but I keep the answers. So I keep my number of participations right here. For the data protection text, you can find them back in your campaign every step of the way. Here, I think it's underneath the form. Well, you can find it here above and underneath the form. A few other options which are not really related to the GDPR Toolbox, but more user rights to make sure that your privacy by design. In the user rights, you will be able to decide that maybe only admins can access the GDPR Toolbox, so not even the marketeers, or only admin can export data. This is, of course, different for every type of user, of customer, I would say, because, well, it can be very tricky if you have a lot of users, but in this way you make sure that no data is exported from Qualifio if you don't want your users to do so. So that's about it for the GDPR Toolbox. Let us know if you have any other questions, suggestions, or whatsoever. Thanks for watching.